Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining us this morning for this very hot day. But thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for this slightly different to our normal sort of webinar type, where normally we sort of show some technical features or demonstrate some software. Today, we wanted to focus a little bit differently on our Mana Machine payment plan, because this is something that I know has been quite interesting to a number of you in recent months and years. And I wanted to just take a bit of time. It's going to be quite a short webinar, but I wanted to take some time just to explain some of the benefits and some of the features of why companies like yourselves look at payment plans, look at what we can offer in terms of payment plans. Now, first of all, before we get started, obviously, please go and follow us on YouTube and follow us on our LinkedIn page and our Facebook and Instagram. We're on all the social medias, and every webinar that we do in previous webinars are all uploaded to our YouTube channel shortly after. So if you've missed any previous ones, or you want to show any of your colleagues some of the features that we've shown in the previous webinars, please find them available on our YouTube channel. So there you go. So without further ado, I wanted to sort of explain a little bit, because actually, before I explain, let me introduce myself. So my name is Simon Brand. I'm the manufacturing sales manager here at Mana Machine, and I've been in this industry for far too long, 18, 19 years or something like that. What struck me in recent years and is that the software that you guys are buying, the software that we're selling, it's not cheap. It's expensive software. Even as we've moved to subscription-based software, it's still a yearly or a 3-yearly expense that you have to justify to your business and to your financial director. And I know in this current economic climate, you have to justify everything, whether it's a new mouse or a new pen or whatever it is. Everything from a business expense perspective needs to be justified as to why you need that new tool. And software is no different, and it's expensive stuff that you guys are buying from us. So I wanted to just explain the differences between the cost of the business versus the return on investment, because sometimes that's the most important single factor in justifying why you need to buy a product design collection or a new license of AutoCAD, because it's about the return on investment. Even if the software cost £1 million, if you could demonstrate to your financial director that it would save you £2 million, you'd be silly not to do it, right? So that's kind of the idea here. But it is still expensive software, and sometimes cash is king. Sometimes cash flow and spending that money is sometimes the sort of balance that your company and your financial director are probably playing with on a daily basis. I know ours are. So if I just explain a bit about software cost versus productivity, so that's a little bit above my head. But if you think about it, and obviously I put no dimensions on, no metrics on here, but just to give you a flavor about what I'm talking about. If you are to buy software, if you are to buy a license of product design collection or AutoCAD or Inventor or whatever it may be, of course you've spent some money. You're in the red. You're in negative equity. But the idea of buying this software is that you will become more productive. You will be more efficient in doing what you need to do, getting those drawings out, producing those models that you're producing, or doing that simulation. So eventually you reach a point where your productivity levels exceed, get you back to cost. And that's what we refer to as the return on investment. So you've invested £20,000 and it takes you, a number of months to repay that money in terms of efficiency and speed improvements. And this is what your FD is typically looking at. What is that time? How long does it take you to repay that investment? Of course, then, the line continues, and you as a business are in positive. You're back in the black. You're in positive equity, essentially. And of course, this is the way traditionally that companies have looked at capital expenditure and have looked towards how much money can we spend in order to make those savings or those increased sales or whatever it may be? How long does it take us to get our money back? What's the return on that investment? And that time will vary depending on the impact of the software. And of course, the software that we sell has a huge impact. So that time is as efficient as it can be, but it is still a time period where you were in negative equity, essentially. Now, the difference with looking at a payment plan is that instead of spending a huge amount of money that often you need to budget for, or you need to put in your plan for next year's budget, actually with a monthly payment plan, you're spending less. You're spending initially in month one, you're spending a fraction of what you would in buying the yearly or the 3 yearly piece of software. So of course, you're back at your return on investment point instantaneously within a couple of days or a couple of weeks, per se. And then, of course, with a monthly payment plan, you pay a little bit more, 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 and that cycle goes on. So the idea of being able to get back or prove to your financial director or the entire business that you can get a return on investment within that first month is incredible. It's an incredible way of being able to justify the software that you need to use. As well as that, it does allow you as a business to move the expensive software from capital expenditure into operational expenditure. So therefore, your business can manage its cash flow a lot more efficiently. Predictive amounts of money coming out each month is a lot more efficient than an annual or a 3-yearly huge sum of money. I'll explain a little bit more with some real facts and figures in a minute. But the idea is that with a payment plan, you can get to your return on investment a lot faster. It literally within the first month, you're more efficient. You can move, as a business, you can move the expense of software from capital expenditure, justifying the cost of that huge piece of software, to a more operational expenditure, OPEX way of working. The business is much better placed at being able to manage its cash flow. It's predictive. You know upfront you are paying X amount of money per month for the next 3 years. You know what it is. And of course, as a business, you're able then to reinvest some of that capital expenditure back into other initiatives, whether that's for training for the software or a Vault implementation or whatever it may be. The business has the capital expenditure cash in the bank, essentially, that it can reinvest in other initiatives. Now, that doesn't have to be CAD, of course. It could be other things. But the idea is that if you move the software purchase into operational expenditure, then you're a much more efficient business, able to manage its cash flow a lot better. That's the idea. To give you a flavor with some real facts and figures, we've just secured a customer of ours. I've got the actual figures here. Now, normally the software that we sell, if any of you are already Autodesk users, you know that we offer subscription-based software. You can't quite see the word time there. We offer subscription-based software where pretty much you have the option of either subscribing for that license for either a 1-year or a 3-year period. Now, of course, with a 1-year period, this is over the 3-year sort of term, this graph, you have that huge investment every year. So every year your business will be putting in the budget an amount of money for their software renewals. Now, of course, to give you a real example of something we did yesterday for a customer, it was, give or take, it was around about £6,000. It was a few licenses and a bit of support, about £6,000. Now, you could almost predict and put in your budget that that's probably going to be, well, with inflation and Autodesk changing their pricing every other year, it's probably going to be about 6.5 next year and probably about 7 there or thereabouts the year after. So the total investment over the 3 years, if you are to use the software for the next 3 years and pay it on a yearly basis, is probably going to be about £19,500. Okay, so that's just sort of spread over the 3 years, paying annually for your software. Of course, the other option is to do a 3-year. Now, a 3-year, currently, for the rest of 2022, Autodesk are giving a 5% discount on committing to 3 years, which is great. Just be aware that next year they've stated that they're going to remove the discount for committing to 3 years. So it's just going to be 1 year times 3. But currently, for the rest of this year, there is a small discount for doing committing to 3 years. I think the bigger picture for me on committing to 3 years is not necessarily the saving that you're getting or not getting next year, but actually the fact that you're avoiding the uncertainty of future price increases. Now, we all know, and having worked with Autodesk for many, many years, they like to change their prices every so often. They give us, the resellers, just 30 days notice of price changes. And sometimes those price changes are, happen pretty quickly and are pretty sharp. But in recent years, they've kind of moved to a 5% sort of increase, every year or every other year. So, there is some inflation going on there. But often the reason why people commit to 3 years is to avoid the uncertainty of future increases. So in this example that we did for a customer literally last week, or maybe it was earlier this week, the 3-year option was about £18,000. So he had a choice, either £6,000 this year or 18 for the 3 years. Now, the problem with that is that you have to, as a business, find £18,000 upfront today to pay us, to pay Autodesk, to get that software for 3 years. So, if you have the cash in the bank, of course, it's the most efficient way, the most cost-effective way to secure that software, if you have visibility that you are likely to be running that software for the next 3 years, of course. Of course, the other way is to look at a payment plan. Now, we have, as Man and Machine, we've secured some pretty competitive rates from a couple of different sources, and it's our job to find the best rate for you, our customers, to best interest rate, to be able to go to market and to be able to come to you with the option. Now, typically, we can do a payment plan on a 1 year or a longer term, of course, but typically people like to do a payment plan over the 3-year term. So yes, you're getting the 5% discount on committing to the 3 years from Autodesk currently for the rest of this year. And then we take that sum of money and we talk to the bank about you and your business, and it's underwritten by the bank. And they then say, yes, we will pay Man and Machine to pay Autodesk, and you will pay a direct debit to the bank at a set amount for the next 3 years. So what does that look like? So the idea is that, in this particular example, it was about £530 a month, which meant that on a graphical comparison, comparing the 1, the 3, and the 3-year, but on a payment plan, it was obvious that the best way to do it for them as a business in terms of managing cash flow was to do the payment plan. Now, the end result, at the end, you can see the orange line is slightly above the green line. You do end up paying a little bit of interest on that. Of course, these banks charge interest often. And so the end result is, an APR of 3%, 4%, something in that sort of ballpark. So you end up paying a little bit more. However, the end result is still less than committing to a 1 year on a yearly basis. So something to bear in mind is that you can get the savings longer term and have that predictable amount of money coming out of the account each month. Faster return on investment, moving it from capital expenditure to operational expenditure. And I know often some of our customers forget that their renewal is coming up, and then they've got to scramble around to find that renewal amount of money every year. Well, this negates the whole need for that. You've got a direct debit coming out of your bank for, in this case, £530 a month. You know exactly what's coming. And of course, at the end of the 3 years, we can get in touch with you. We can look at refinancing another 3-year term and take it from there. So often the payment plan is the best way to manage your business, the best way to predict what you're going to be paying each month, and to give you the best saving in a long-term basis. So for us, it's quite simple. I said this was going to be quite a short webinar, and that it is. We can talk to us. Look, whether you're looking at investing in new software or whether your renewals are coming up, we can offer a payment plan on pretty much anything. And I say anything, we also include services, support, training, can all be bundled together in a affordable monthly amount that you know is what's coming every month. So I'd say talk to your man and machine representative, your account manager, about what we can offer, whether we can offer you a payment plan. Now, of course, some of the banks are stricter than others about who they will lend to, and they look at your accounts. Often it's underwritten, so often we have to get newer accounts or directors' guarantees. But that's it's our job to put you in contact with the right bank to be able to lend you that money to pay for the software. So the idea of being a payment plan is fundamental to what we're offering you as our customers. So if you are interested, if you've got some software to buy and you're struggling to justify the cost to your boss, get in touch, talk to your account manager about whether we can spread that cost over a monthly amount, a manageable amount, and take it from there. And this is something that we do regularly with our customers, and we'd love you to get involved, and we'd love you to join the legions of customers that we have that are joining the Man and Machine payment plan. So without further ado, I'm going to end the webinar. I know it's pretty short and sweet, but there isn't much more to say about there's no massive features to tell you about it. Payment plans are the way forward, manageable costs, manage your cash flow, and get in touch with your account manager if it's an area of interest. Thank you for your time, and I will see you on the next webinar. Please remember to follow us on YouTube and follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll see you on the next webinar.